Dad, the kettle's just boiled. Will you have a cup of tea?
I shall go on, Ned, I will.
Where's me ma gone?
She's gone over to visit your sister Sally in Drimnagh.
I hope she brought her umbrella with her. It's starting to lash down.
It's as weather for the ducks out there, all right.
Here's your tea, Dad.
Fair play to you, Ned, thanks.
What time is this fella from the military coming at?
He should be here for 3 bells, Ned.
Well, it's just gone 5 to 3. He should be here any minute, so. Are you nervous, Dad, about giving your statement?
Will you stop, Ned? Sure, what have I got to be nervous about? You should never be nervous about the truth. Sure, the last time I was nervous when I was up on the roof of the Union, nailing the tricolour to the mast in me socks. I thought it was going to fall through.
Fair play to you, Dad. Oh, look. Here comes your man walking up the path. I'll go let him in. Hello there, you must be from the military bureau.
I am indeed. Sean Grimshaw. Pleased to meet you.
Likewise, Ned Fawn. Come on in. My dad's expecting you. Dad, this is Mr. Grimshaw.
Very pleased to meet you, Mr. Grimshaw. I see you've met my son, Ned.
I have indeed. It's a pleasure to meet you also, Mr. Foran. Call me Sean.
Fair enough, Sean. The kettle is just boiled. Would you like Ned to pour you a cup of tea?
That would be lovely. Thanks, Mr. Foran.
No bother at all. And please call me James.
Do you take sugar, Sean?
No, just milk, please, Ned.
There you go, Sean.
That's great, Ned. Many thanks. Now, gentlemen, if I could borrow that stool and place my tape machine on it, that would be a great help.
No trouble at all, Sean. Sure, here, let me have it. Is this one of those tape recorder machines that Radio Airm would use to make their programmes?
That'd be very similar indeed to the ones they use, Ned.
It looks a fairly complicated thing all the same.
Indeed it's not. It's just a case of pointing the microphone in the front of the person talking and press record. As you'll see in a moment. Now, James, I'm just about set up here ready to record your statement. I will start by stating your name, our present location, date and the subject matter. Are you alright with this?
As right as rain.
Okay. I'll just press this button and off we go. This is the witness statement of James Foran of 6 St Agnes Terrace, Crumlin, on this day, the 3rd of May 1949. The subject matters are Easter week 1916, South Dublin Union, his imprisonment and release, his engagement on bomb and hand grenade making in Crown Alley from 1916 up to the truce.
We joined the volunteers in 1915. I went up to Larkfield and saw MacDonagh and Seamus Murphy. I asked them did they intend to fight. They told me that they did intend to fight and they probably would. I said in that case I wanted to join. I said I didn't want to attend parades, that I had a big family, but that I would come up an odd time. I was in A Company of the 4th Battalion and I kept going to the odd parade. I think Seamus Murphy was over us at that time. Seamus Murphy and Harry Murray were the only officers in it. I had a shop and business down in Charlemont Street. I was after shifting from Angel Street. I had 5 or 6 fellas working for me in the painting line. I was living in a big house at the corner of the avenue that was convenient to Larkfield. There was a big shed in the yard. One morning during the week before Easter week, I was in bed and it started to rain. I think it was the Monday morning of Holy Week 1916. One of the children, they were all young at the time, ran up the stairs and said to me, "Daddy, the soldiers are in the yard. The yard is full of them. They're coming very quickly. I'll get up," I said. I thought they were coming to arrest me, because there were rumours at that time that we were all going to be arrested and all that kind of thing. I got up out of the bed and I went down to the yard. The shed was full of soldiers. I went over to the officer and said, "What's all the trouble over?" "Oh," says he, "we're just standing in out of the rain. It's raining outside. I hope I'm not disturbing you." "Not at all," I said. "You're quite welcome." "I hope you're going to put a stop to those fellas playing with their guns." "Yes," said he. "We're coming to take a sketch of the place." and Larkfield and all the other places as well. Well, says I, you needn't worry over those fellows. When they hear shots, they'll run. I kept running down the volunteers and everything went off all right. That night I went up and saw Kant and I told him about my conversation with the British officer. We had orders to parade on Easter Sunday. The only arrangement that was made was that we were to parade at 4 o'clock and bring 3 days' rations and our arms and equipment and all that. Most of us had our own guns and ammunition, which we had purchased at our own expense. I knew I was going out to a rising because I got a good idea from the questions I asked. I was never told definitely until Monday morning, but I guessed before that. All that Sunday we heard the usual talk and rumours, and I did not know anything definite. But on Monday morning I brought my brother-in-law up along Rutland Avenue to show him where the Liverpool fellows had that place. They had a forge there for making pike heads. When we got up there, everything was cleared out. The forge and everything was gone. That was about 10:30 in the morning. I did not know what was up, and I said to him, they're all gone. Just then up came Cottle on his bicycle. I said to him, what's going on? Is the fight on now? Yes, he said. Which way are you going? I told him I was going back to the barn. Do you know where Kant lives? He asked. I told him I did. And then he asked me if I'd take a note to Kant and to take his bicycle and to be as quick as I could. I said to the brother-in-law, I'd better get going, and if anything happens to me, will you look after the family? Of course I will, he said. I then got up on the bicycle and away I went as straight as a die to Kant's house. There were 2 or 3 others in Kant's house. Kant was there himself, Seamus Murphy was with him, and I can't remember who else. I handed a note to Kant, who then said to me, where are you going? I told him I wasn't sure. Were you not warned this morning? He asked. I told him I wasn't. Where is your company? He then asked. I told him I wasn't sure where they'd gone to, as they'd packed up all their belongings and moved out. Go and get your things and meet me at Emerald Square, he said to me. And sure, that's what I did. I don't know what was in the note I bought from Cattleville, but I know I left his bicycle outside, and I heard afterwards that it was standing outside Kant's front door for 3 days. I went home and got ready, and I let on I had to go on a parade. I took my brother-in-law's bicycle. He was after paying 10 shillings for it. All the kids were there and asked me, where are you going? I'm going off to war, I said. I went over to the square, and there was a crowd in the square, and I put my bicycle against the wall and went up to Kant, who said, you better come with me. We marched from Emerald Square along by the back to the pipes. Kant was in charge of the parade. We arrived at the back entrance of the Union, and the gatekeeper wouldn't let us in, and we had to force our way in. When we got inside, Kant said, take down a few men with you and take charge of the front gate of the Union. Let Tommy McCarthy in when he comes with the ammunition, and you stop there. I got instructions not to let anyone else in. He told me we were going to attack the British soldiers if they arrived, and that we were to erect a barricade behind the front gate in case the British soldiers would come along there. We would be ready for them if they came there. But I knew the military well enough to know they would not attack. I had to get some of the patients to fill sandbags, and we pulled an old cab that was there and turned it over and used it as a barricade. When McCarthy came, we opened the gate and let him in, and took the ammunition from him. He then marched away with his men over to Jemieson's distillery, and we shut the gate again. At about 2 o'clock or so on Monday, Cottle Brewer came down and said the soldiers were getting in over the wall and he wanted a couple of men. I said I'll go, because there's nothing doing here, and I'll get a shot up there. I was gone when some of the fellas upstairs shouted down that Kant had sent me there and I wasn't to be taken away. 2 other men went up, and they were not very long up there when the 2 of them were shot dead. One was Billy McDowell. I don't know the name of the other man. He was a painter. That settled that for the day. I tried to get in touch with McCarthy that night, but I couldn't manage it. I did not sleep for a week. I wasn't sleepy, and I used to walk along the corridors where I had the fellas posted here and there as sentries. Next day, some of our men called me and told me there was an ambulance coming down and they wanted to know should they fire at it. I told them that they were not to fire under any circumstances. The next evening, or the next day, I'm not sure which, but there was another ambulance coming, and one of the men said, "Here is another ambulance, will I fire?" I said, "Yes, hit him if you can." I'm not sure, but he got some portion of the car, and the car turned at the corner of Mount Brown. I don't know who drove it, we only saw the flap open. It got away too quickly. I did not see it myself, but one of the men who saw it said, "There's a gun in the back of the car." That was Tuesday. On Tuesday morning I had all my men up at daylight. There were windows on both sides of the building which we were in. Right at the back of the union there was another building with windows facing our direction. It was a bit higher than the building we occupied. I got the volunteers to barricade the windows with books and ledgers, etc., and I said, if any of those fellas attack, they generally attack about daylight or dawn. Anyway, we got the windows barricaded, and then I got the fellas down underneath the windows. The next thing happened was that there was a shower of bullets coming in. They kept that up for 20 minutes anyway. They were coming in and crossing over to the other place, and some of them were hitting the ground before they went out, and some of them went out onto the street. Our men were crouched down along under the windows, and I was lying down. Others were down along the corridor. There was a fella right beside me, and he wanted to return fire. I said, "No, let them waste their ammunition." There was a man called Martin O'Flaherty, and he said he'd like to have a shot at him. So I said to him, "Very well, but before you have a shot at him, put your hand on top of your gun and push it up easy." And while he was doing that, 2 bullets went through it. "Now," said I, "if your head had been in that hat, what would have happened to you?" He still has that hat. We did not fire at all. They stopped, and they must have thought there was nobody there. They didn't come out in the open, and we weren't troubled anymore. We were not troubled on Wednesday either. That was an easy day. On Thursday, I decided we would have to get through to headquarters. Headquarters was up in the nurses' home, and we were down over the front gate. We had to get through a couple of buildings to get to where they were. We started to burrow from room to room. Eventually we came into a room in which there was a whole row of doors and presses all along. And we tried 2 or 3 of them, but they were all presses. I said, "You better start over here." We started to break a hole in the corner, and we were halfway through when some fellow went over and turned the handle, and the door was there all along, after us breaking through the wall. When we came to the end of the building, there was a small little house, and we had to get a ladder to get down. And when we got down, I took off my coat. I had a grey shirt on me and me boots, and I climbed up a spout to see where they were. And there underneath was the whole crowd of our own lads. I didn't know before that's where we could locate them. Sean McGlynn was with that crowd. I knew him for a long time before that. After we had a chat, just the usual, I left them and went back into the building. I was sitting down having a smoke, and I heard the clatter on the concrete. "What is McGlynn doing now?" I said. I heard more sounds, and I knew it was something important. I opened the door and walked out with my pipe in my mouth, and there were about 30 British soldiers outside. I acted without knowing, brought up the gun and fired. It was a 45 revolver, and I didn't take time to look to see whether I hit a man or not. I went back and shouted to my men. They were coming down to see what was up. I said there was a whole crowd of British soldiers outside at the back of the bakehouse. It was getting dark at the time. They were attacking very heavily. There was a stairs going down to where we had to go to get over to headquarters and back to our base. We got down the stairs and the bullets were coming in over us. The next place I found myself was in the kitchen, and outside the kitchen was a crowd of volunteers. "What's going on?" I asked them. The only way we can get out is by this way, they shouted. Are you going to get out, I asked. Yes, replied one of them. I said, that won't do. Where is Kant? He's inside, he said. I had a young chap called Joe Horden, a carpenter, and I said to Joe, go in and ask Kant, is this a surrender, or is it a fight to the finish? He came out and said, yes, it's a fight to the finish. Come on, said I, where is he? He was behind a curtain. The cattle brewer had been wounded, and he was lying on a sofa. I think Joe Doolan was attending to him. I walked through the volunteers and went up to Kant. Said, hey, is there anyone here who could go up and have a few shots and let them know we are here? I said to him, yes, I'll go. The hand grenades were coming in, but not to where the crowd were. I made for the stairs and was halfway up the stairs when it was pulled back. My God, I'm shot, said young Evans. I was just about able to lift him and brought him up the stairs. The first ward I came to, there was a bed in it, so I threw him on it. I opened the window, pulled out the gun and fired through the window. I didn't put my head out the window. The fighting stopped suddenly. Whatever happened, the British were fired on from behind by their own men. I believe they thought they were surrounded by the volunteers and got out as quickly as they could. And that was that. The fight was over then, and that was the last fight and the only scrap we had then. I had no commission or anything then. I wouldn't take it. I could have got it, but I didn't want it. I only wanted to do a man's part. And thank God I lived to do it. The surrender took place on Sunday. Willie Cosgrave and I went down on the Sunday, and we opened the side gate and went out. MacDonagh, Father Albert and Father Aloysius from Church Street were there. Word was sent up that the priests were there. The civilians rushed over, and I turned around and went over to the fellow on the guard. I took the gun out of his hand and said to him, get back, you couldn't come to our assistance, and now you're rushing up. The priest didn't come into the building. The terms were brought up to Kant, and Kant called us and told us the position. Half of the men were not inclined to give way, and the other half were. Other fellas broke their guns. Kant did not go down to see the priest. It was Cosgrave who spoke with the priest. By the way, I put up the flag on Monday. I took off my boots and we had to get a ladder for me to get up into the rafters and through the ceiling. I broke a hole through the roof and put up the flag. There were snipers in the old man's house, and they were firing, but none of them came through the slates. They were just hopping on them. I nailed the flag to the mast. We fell in that Sunday evening in the Union Yard. The English major was walking up and down and he said, Mr. Kant, when will all your men be out? Kant answered and said to him, these are all the men I have. There were only 32 men to the best of my knowledge. There might have been a couple more or less, but we had 38 altogether when we entered the Union on Monday. We marched to Marrowbone Lane, where we were halted. I was going to go home then, but it was a good job I didn't go home, because there were 30 soldiers occupying the house. We marched up to Bride Street buildings, beside Patrick's Park, and we gave up our guns there, and we were marched from there to Richmond Barracks. And we were there for 2 days when we were brought over to Knutsford in England. Nothing much happened in Knutsford. We were then transferred from Knutsford to Fangok in Wales. After a while we were brought to London and we were interviewed by the Shanky Commission. They didn't ask me anything about the fighting. We were returned to Fangok and I was released about August 1916. When I came home after being released, I had to start looking for a job. All my customers were gone. None of them would touch me. They were nearly all Quakers. A couple of years before that, I took over Dunn's Plumbers and I lost all my customers. I think it was in 1917 that McLean and I took over about 50 or 60 men and we formed No. 4 Company Engineers. Commandant Liam O'Doherty did not come in till afterwards, but Commandant Kelly was the commandant of the 4th Battalion at the time. We used to parade around the mountains, and we also had parades in Camden Street. When we were shifted out of that, we went to York Street. We had a raid in York Street. I wasn't present when the raid took place because I was going home one night and I saw an English Secret Service man outside our place in York Street. I knew him because he'd been on the boat with us when we were released from Fangop, and he used to be around the railings of the boat when there would be 4 or 5 of us standing talking. He would come up near us and stand listening to us. I remember too when I was attending an officer's lecture in Parnell Square and he was standing at the corner of the square. When I saw him in York Street, I told the volunteers that there was a spy outside, and I said, "You'd better keep away from this place for a while." Of course, as usual, they didn't. And 2 nights afterwards, we were raided. There was only one of them arrested in the raid. The remainder got out through the back, and there was nothing got. I was an officer in the engineers at that time. McGlynn was captain, and Paddy McGrath, Lord rest him, was lieutenant. McGrath and myself used to go out to the mountains testing explosives. I got an idea how to set fire to an armoured car with petrol. The idea was to get some rags, make them into a ball and soak it in paraffin oil. When the armoured car appeared, the rag ball was to be lighted and thrown at it. Another man at the same time would throw a bottle of petrol at it. The moment it would get hold, up would go the whole car. I put that to Liam Archer in Rathmines. We were shifted up to the Harp Hall in Rathmines at that time. He told me he would let me know in a week. I wanted to take some men out to try and see if we could blow the car up. Next week Archer came back and he said he had put it in front of the executives and he would not hear of it. They were afraid that we would blow up half the city. I said, "Let them blow it all up, what about it?" About 1919, I became ill and was removed to Cork Street Hospital to undergo an operation. I was in hospital for 2 or 3 months. When I got well again, I reported back to Liam Archer, who told me to take a rest for a while. Shortly afterwards, Gaskins told me I was to go and inspect some fireplaces and chimneys in the Crown Alley Ironworks. I went down to Crown Alley and I saw that the chimneys were no good and it would take too much time to do anything with them. So I advised a gas and air furnace. Gaskins told me all about them. I already knew that headquarters had this place in Crown Alley for making bombs and hand grenades. I built 2 new furnaces. I had to excavate the ground and go down 6 feet and put in 2 squares and build up the furnaces with bricks. This place was beside the telephone exchange in Crown Alley. The British were in occupation of the telephone exchange. They had sentries marching up and down on the roof of the building as we were going in and out, and we were never caught. I got paid while I was in Crown Alley. It was a full-time job, and we were there for a couple of months. I was paid £1 a week, or maybe it was £1 a day. I think it was £1 a day. I was there for 2 or 3 months and finished up at the truce. I never noticed how many grenades we turned out. They used to come twice a week and take 3 or 4 sacks of them in the car. Not full bags. Sean Russell was in charge of us. He came in occasionally because he was in charge of the whole lot. Frank Gaskins and Danny Holmes and 2 more men were there. I don't know their names. One was an North of Ireland chap. It was marvellous the way we got away with it. We were very lucky. We were never raided. All the other fellas working there in the usual way at the usual foundry work never gave us away. We carried on with that until the truce, and I didn't bother me head going near them after that. I tried to pick up business again then, and went out on my own until the boys started to get going. And they're in a good position now that they're able to carry on with their own good way of living, and a good business. And this, Sean, is my statement.
Thank you very much, James. It's quite a story you've told.
Sure. Look, isn't it great to be alive to tell it?
Well, I'll just pack up this tape machine and leave you gentlemen to get on with the rest of your day.
No bother. Sure, Ned will give you a hand out with it.
Not at all, I'm grand. Well, that's me done. It was a pleasure to meet you, James.
And you too, Sean.
Thanks for the tea, Ned.
You're most welcome, Sean. You don't need a hand out with your equipment.
Not at all, Ned. This tape machine is not as heavy as it looks. But I'll be off now. Slán lat, gentlemen.
Slán go fóill, Sean.
He seemed like a sound fella, that.
He certainly did, son.
You came across really well telling your story. Fair play to you, that.
Thanks, Ned.
I suppose I better bring you up to Mooney's for a pint of plain.
No, better plan, Ned. We could do with wetting me whistle after all that talking.
Come here, Dad. I was just thinking. Imagine your story that Sean recorded into that tape machine was put out on the radio someday.
And that would be something, Ned. Something indeed.